Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear students, I hope you all are keeping fine by the grace of the Almighty Allah. It's long since we didn't see each other because of pandemic situation of the world. It's a great loss for the students of Bangladesh, as the institutions are closed down since April, classes are suspended. That's why you are facing a great loss in educational purpose. Just to compensate the loss a little, our authority has arranged online classes for your betterment. Teachers, our coordinators, staffs, all are helping each other to make it a success. You are at home, we are in our house or a studio to take our classes. I request all of you to be attentive, serious, sincere to your classes, though you are in the house. As the institution arranged such classes for your betterment, I thank our authority for arranging such online classes, taking such pragmatic steps. My dear students, our today's topic is 16th and 17th century poetry. You know, this is metaphysical poetry which started in Jacobean age, after Jacobean age, just at the last stage of Shakespeare. With the leadership of John Donne, a school of poetry started its journey, a very vigorous journey, a vital role in history of English literature. Among them, George Herbert, John Donne, Croshaw, Vaughan, Richard Croshaw, John Cleveland, Abraham Cowley, and so on. Metaphysical poetry, you know, as you studied these things, learned these things in your earlier classes, the main points of metaphysical poetry are love, religion, fate, death, dramatic opening, argumentative approach, colloquial tone, concrete image, and few others. We will talk today of George Herbert's The Caller. The name of the poem is The Caller by George Herbert. Before starting our topic, I would like to tell you something about Christian belief and Muslim belief, because there is a long gap between these two beliefs. The Christians believe in Trinity, God the Father, God the Mother, God the Son. It means that they take Jesus Christ as their God, they take Mary as their goddess, and they take God as God. But according to Islamic belief, if we take Jesus Christ as God, it means that we are making partner Him with Allah. But in Islamic belief, we cannot make partner with Allah. We cannot make partner anybody with Allah. Quran it is said, La Sharika Lah. It means Allah has no partnership at all. If anybody believes this, it means that he is making partner. It means he is making sharik, making partnership with Allah, which is completely forbidden in Islam. So I am requesting my students not to believe this thing this way. But for your knowing, you have to know these things. But Christian or Hindu students, you can go in your own ways. Okay, now I would like to tell you about the color. What is colors? The colors are of many kinds, you know. The color, this is color of a shirt. This color is used in a shirt. This is also color. Again, this is a color. And in colors, in shirt, they are maybe used such type of colors also. So this is colors, and it is used in shirt. But in case of animal, a collar is used around the neck of the animal. It may be a cat or a dog or a cow. It is used to control the animal. It means that it is under bondage of its owners. But in case of priest, collar is used at this place. Why? It means that it is a bondage. It means that this priest is under some restrictions, under some laws, and under some discipline. He cannot do whatever he likes. He will have to maintain particular duties. He has to shoulder some responsibilities and duties which has to be done by himself, and he cannot do according to his will. The poem The Collar by George Herbert. It's a metaphysical poem, lyrical poem, which is very significant, dominant in the history of metaphysical poetry. As we know, George Herbert was a clergyman, he was a politician, he was a member of parliament, he was a reader, and so on. He was born in 1593 and he died 1633. And this poem was published in 1633, the year he died. Now I am giving you a very important thing about the poem. The poem itself calls the ravings of a person who is rebellious against the restriction that surrounded him as a priest. The poem shows that the poet is involved in a deep-rooted and desperate struggle with his own soul. He also seems to doubt whether God exists at all, and gives a rebellious expression against the disciplines of his vocation of priesthood. That's why this poem is very important, because a priest cannot do whatever he likes. He has to maintain some discipline, some bondage, some restriction, for which he has to lead a very restricted life. Now I am going to the text which is given on the board. Let us go to the board, my dear students. The callers, as I told you, written by George Herbert. It's a lyrical poem and it is also metaphysical, and it's a poem of 36 lines having 6 stanzas. For your better understanding, I have given you side notes, so you try to see the side notes for your understanding later on if possible. First of all, I will recite the poem and then line by line and stanza by stanza I will discuss, and sometimes I will use Bangla words for your better understanding of the words and the phrases that are given in the poem. I start. I struck the board and cried, no more, I will abroad. What? Shall I ever sigh and pine? My lines and life are free, free as the road, loose as the wind, as large as the store. Shall I be still? Shall I be still and shoot? Have I no harvest but a thorn to let me blood and not restore what I have lost with cordial fruit? Sure, there was wine before my sighs did dire it. There was corn before my tear did drown it. Is the year only lost to me? Have I no vase to crown it? No flowers, no garlands gay, all blasted, all wasted. Not so, my heart, but there is fruit, and thou hast hands. Recovered thy sigh-blown eyes on double pleasures. Leave thy cold disputes of hot is fit or not. Forsake the case, thy robe of sands, which petty thoughts have made and made to thee, good cavil to enforce and draw, envy thy law. While thou didst wink and wouldst not see, away, take it, I will abroad. Call in thy death's head there, tie up thy fears, he that forbears to shoot and serve his need, deserve his load. But as I raved and grew more fierce and wild at every word, methought I heard one calling, child, I replied, my lord. My dear students, now I will talk about first stanza of the poem. I am giving you a critical idea of the first stanza. The opening stanza goes abrupt and dramatic, evoking violent action and delivered in a personal and colloquial manner. The poem takes the form of arguments using logic to make the meaning convincing and persuasive. At the very beginning of the poem, at the very first line, we see the poet start to write the poem dramatically. He says, I struck the board. Strike is the past tense of the strike verb. It means he struck the board and cried, howled, and said, no more, I will abroad. It means that the speaker, the poet himself, is a priest who does not like to stay in the church now because he is burdened with so many responsibilities, he is burdened with restrictions, he is overloaded with so many duties, frustrations, depressions. That's why he wants to be free. And because of his ravings, he said, I struck and cried. I will abroad means he wants to come out of this church. He is not ready to stay at church. What? Shall I ever shy and pine? He says here, what should I do here staying there? I have to shy and pine. In Bangla, if we say, আমি কি শুধু দীর্ঘশ্বাস এবং যন্ত্রণায় কাতরাবো? My lines and lives are free. Free as the road, loose as the wind, as large as the store. Shall I be still insured? He is saying his lines, his ways of life are free as the road, as free as the wind, as large as the store. Store means Shoshya Bhandar. Ekhane Shoshya Bhandar means worldly pleasures, abundance of worldly pleasures he has. So he is asking himself, shall I be still insured? Should I be here? He is asking himself. It means that he does not want to serve here as a priest. He wants to come out of this case, of this area, of this church, because a priest cannot do according to his will. He has to maintain the discipline of Christianity. In the second stanza, we see, what do we see? We see, second stanza takes a more personal notes. The question whether he being a priest does not deserve any reward. Using the word harvest, the poet laments that as a clergy his only harvest has been thorn that has made him bleed. His sighs and tears have made him ruin the fruits of his labor. It means, he says, I have no harvest but a thorn. Here he is saying, I have no harvest, no result, no pleasures, no enjoyment, but I have only thorn, only restriction, only difficulties, only barrier to let me blood. That means blood means blood. Here he tells that he bleeds because of his sufferings and not restore what I have lost with cordial fruits. And he is saying that he is not able to restore that he has lost. Cordial fruits means worldly pleasures. Cordial fruits means worldly pleasures that he had lost coming to this church, being a priest. Once again he is saying, sure, there was wine. Means there was lots of enjoyment. There was wine. Women, before my sighs did dry it. He is saying here that because of his sighs, dirghashashe, this wine is dried. তার মানে হচ্ছে সে তার দীর্ঘশ্বাসের কারণে এই যা মদ ছিল, মানে তার উল্লাস ছিল, আনন্দ ছিল, সেগুলো শুকিয়ে যাচ্ছে। there was corn, mean shosho, before my tear did drown it. Here corn also symbolizes worldly pleasures, worldly enjoyment, materialistic view, before my tear did drown it. And with this tear, with his tear, this corn is also drowned. তার মানে তার চোখের জলেও সে তার যে আনন্দ, তার যে উল্লাস, তার যে শস্য, তা সে ভিজে গেছে। His ravings and his frustrations, his utmost cry for staying in the church, and he wants to come out of the church and to lead a very pleasureful life like the common people. In the third stanza, he is telling us about his mental state. He is questioning himself. Is the year only lost to me? Have I no ways to crown it? No flowers, no garlands gay, all blasted, all wasted? Not so, my heart, but there is fruit, and thou hast hands. In this stanza, the poet says, the stanza here says, his lamentation continues. He compares his restrictive life to the face of life other people who boundlessly enjoy worldly pleasures. He gives arguments that he has the right to crown him with the pleasures of life with flowers and garlands. Means he wants to say, he wants to furnish his life, he wants to fulfill his life with worldly pleasures, with materialistic gain. Is the year only lost to me? He is saying, his time is over? Have I no ways to crown it? Vase means laurel flowers. Have I no laurel to crown it? Can I not be able to enjoy my time? No flowers, no garlands gay? এখানে কি কোনো ফুল নেই, ফুলের মানা নেই আনন্দ উল্লাস করার জন্য, জীবনকে ভরে দেওয়ার জন্য, জীবনকে সুন্দর করার জন্য? All blasted, all wasted, all are destroyed, all are wasted, nothing is remaining. Now he is consoling himself by saying, not so, না এরকম তো হতে পারে না, my heart, but there is fruit. He is saying, still I have heart, I still have energy, still I have soul, I have mind, but there is fruit, there is abundance of enjoyment, and thou hast hands. He is telling himself that he has hands means he has the capability to do something according to his will. He wants to fulfill his desire by doing all these things. Now at the fourth stanza, he is becoming more and more violent and wants to come out of the case of the bondage. Here he says, here the fourth stanza tells us the poet becomes almost aggressive and violent and desires to regain that he has been lost, indulging himself in double pleasures. He revolts against the restrictive rules and discipline of the church. In fact, this is the most paradoxical stanza which indicates the core meaning of the poem. You see, recover all thy shy-blown eyes. Recover all thy shy-blown eyes. It means he wants to regain the things that has been lost for his frustrations, for his bondage in the church. How he wants to gain this material gain? He wants to do these things by doubly. Means doing double pleasures, he wants to recover these things. Leave thy cold dispute of what is feet and not. He is asking himself again. He says, give up these little dispute, little things. What is not right, what is not wrong. I should not choose right or wrong. I must enjoy myself. I must enjoy pleasures, enjoy materialistic gain. So he says, forsake thy case. He is saying to himself, forsake thy case. Give up this case. Come out of this case. Thy robe of sands. Robe of sands means balir bath. Means this type of bondage is very temporary, which he can easily break up. Which petty thoughts have made to thee good cable to enforce and draw and we thy law, while thou didst wake and wouldst not see. Here he says, little thoughts which made the life of a priest to stay here, and a priest is bound to lead a life, restricted life within the church, and he has to enforce and draw these things by enforcing the laws within the church, and by this he cannot do whatever he likes while thou didst doing. Doing means blind. If she is blind, as he is blind, and that's why he cannot see, it means that a priest becomes blind when he shoulder his duties and responsibility within the church, because he cannot go beyond the church, beyond the restrictions. That's why his ravings goes on and on. Now let us come to the fifth stanza. Let us recite the stanza. Away, take it, I will abroad, call in thy death here, tie up thy fears, he that forbears to suit and serve his need, deserve the load. This stanza, here the speaker loses hold on his own arguments. So he declares to abandon his priesthood, and in this way he overcomes his fears. The speaker ironically declares his shortcomings by showing his inability to maintain the responsibility of his vocation. Away, take it, he's saying, come out. Take it means take a very strong responsibility, and I will abroad means I will go out of the church, means I will leave the vocation, I leave the priesthood, because he says, call in thy death here, head here. He is here reminding himself, his soul, that in everyone's life there is death. Death comes. When death comes, there is nothing to enjoy. So before death, we must enjoy ourselves, enjoy our worldly pleasures. That's why he say, tie up thy fears. That's why he is saying to himself, I must shed all these fears that he forbears. Now he is saying, those who forbears, those who endure such things to shoot and serve his need. And here he says, the priest who forbears these things, bear these things, endure these things, they has to maintain the rules of church, and he has to earn his livelihood by doing activities in the church. And that's why deserve his load. That's why he has to bear the load. Means he has to face sufferings and sorrows and restrictions and many other pains in his life. So he is not ready to stay here. He has become ready to leave this church so that he can enjoy worldly pleasures. That means here the speaker reaches its peak of his frustrations, fears and ravings, and he is crazy about to come out of this case. At this stage, we are seeing that he says in the last stanza, but as I raved and grew more fierce and wild at every word. Here he is saying, when I became very much furious and crazy for in my every word to come out, to get out of this church, to live up this profession, to live up his priesthood. It is his decision now. But he thinks, methought I heard one calling, child. But by this time, a voice came from the sky. It is angelic call, child. That means his God calls him as child. Child, what are you doing? Are you going beyond the bondage? Are you going to live up your Christianity? Then the speaker woke and said, I replied, my Lord. Then the speaker replied that, my Lord, I am with you. Sorry, forgive me, my Lord, I am with you. I won't go beyond the bondage, I won't go beyond the restrictions. I will be within the church. I will be with you. I will be your slave. I will be your servant. I will no more be out of the church. My dear students, I have tried my best to make you understand the poem. You know, if you are ready to be present in the class earlier, it would be better for you to understand the poem. Okay, it's not the matter. Matter is that if you go through the text very critically, carefully, you will be able to understand the poem. And I have given footnotes against the stranger, and it will help you to understand the poem easily. And actually it is a poem, religious poem, metaphysical poem, lyrical poem, in which Herbert wants to show that there is a struggle within human mind, in the human soul. In every human being there is three existence. One is own self, other is good self, and other is bad self. So in every human being there is a struggle between bad and good. Ultimately the truth wins over the falsehood. This is the main theme of the poem. I am telling you to go through the poem again and again and try the footnotes, and you would be able to understand very easily. I think if you go through the text again and again, it would be very much lucid, very tasty, and very much enjoyable for yourself. If still then, if you feel any problem to understand any word, any phrase of the poem or inner meaning of the poem, you may contact with me over phone or messenger. Okay, thank you very much. Till then, you stay safe, keep yourself safe, maintain hygiene. May Allah bless all of you. Allah Hafiz.